Jim Jackson, Fox, Turner, NBA college basketball analyst, played 14 seasons in the NBA. He was there for the call, the Clippers, and the Nuggets. And Jim joins us on the program. First big concert you ever went to?
Oh, man, back in the day, I think I was so I'm from Toledo, so I think it was a place we used to go to called the Sports Arena. And it was LL Cool J, Run DMC.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
yeah,
right.
that was it.
Did you ever meet those guys once you became famous?
Yes.
Okay.
LL, Run, DMC, Jam Master Jay when I was older. Yeah, when I got to the league, I got a chance to run across. Because back, the funny part is, Dan, back in the 90s, I came in the league in 92. That's when hip-hop was just turning the corners from the late 80s to 90s. So, and I used to be in New York and LA a lot. So we would all be kind of at the same kind of places, whether that's restaurants or nightclubs or events or whatever. So it was funny because back then it was just, they were big, don't get me wrong, but you didn't have the social media and everything like that. And hip hop was just starting to take off. So I got a chance to meet a lot of the early hip hop artists, actresses, actors, things like that back in the day that we see now that are older, of course. But during that time, man, it was a different time period.
Did you ever flirt during a game?
Of course.
To who?
I'm not telling you that.
Why not?
Because
statute of limitations is up.
I'm old. I forgot.
Like Halle Berry, did you flirt?
No, I've never seen Halle at a game. I went to a
Janet
award
Jackson.
show.
Did you flirt with Janet Jackson?
She never was at it. Well, no, she was at a game. Hey, actually, I'll tell you the truth. One year, her concert tour, it was it Velvet Rope? I think it was.
Okay.
I saw it 3 times. Dallas, Detroit, and I was at the closeout show in New York.
If Janet Jackson said, "Would you get 50 for me, Jimmy?"
What?
Points.
What I would?
Would
no,
you?
I wouldn't try to get. No.
Wait, for Janet Jackson, you wouldn't have.
No. I would have tried to get 50 for myself.
Oh.
And that she could witness it, but no, not for her. That'll throw your game off, Dan. You trying too hard, Dan. You out there trying to. You get your teammates looking at you like you're crazy, man.
All right.
No.
You saw up close and personal, Clippers bow out, and the James Harden question. What happens to him in these big games?
Man, it's a tough one because I'm really close to the situation because I covered the Clippers all year. And this year, Jan, I just thought this was, with everything coming together, Kawhi coming back, James basically manning the ship the entire year until, to the games where Kawhi came back, along with Ivica Zubac, to improve immensely, was up for, most improved player of the year. Then Norman Powell, who was up for Sixth Man of the Year. And going into the series, I knew Denver was going to be tough just because, and despite firing Michael Malone, they were just connected a little bit different. They've been playing not as well down the stretch of the season, but it was just something about them. And James was up and down in this series. When he was good, he was good. When he wasn't, he wasn't. When he was engaged early, like in Game 6, he was a difference maker. In Game 7, that same engagement just wasn't there. And a lot of what happens with the Clippers is based around the temperament of James. And what I mean is body language. When he's really aggressive offensively, the team tends to follow that. I thought the first quarter was great. I said, we got something here, Game 7 in Denver. But too many mental errors and mistakes limit to that, and James never found his rhythm. And I thought this year, Dan, if any, this is when he could have quieted a lot of that noise about lack of playoff success, especially in Game 7. Because with Dan, James didn't have to go score 25, 30 points. But if he gives you 18 with 10 assists, 12 assists, and he's controlling tempo, and he's getting guys the ball, and he's actively being defensive-minded, then a lot of that narrative and out of that noise, a lot of that chirping, a lot of people now say, well, James has done a great job leading the Clippers. But that didn't happen. And as a result, a team that I thought could get to the Western Conference Finals, lost to a great team with the Nuggets.
Would you rather have James Harden's career or Russell Westbrook's?
Oh. I think both are going to be Hall of Famers.
First ballots.
Both are going to have asterisks by it. Russ still has a chance right now because whatever Denver does is going to be on his record. So if they do something special, that's a great question, Dan, because both have accomplished so much, whether it's MVPs, whether it's scoring titles with James, triple-double crowns for Russell. Man, I don't know. That's a good one right there, Dan. I don't know. I would really have to dig into it, but offhand, I would say James.
Watching the Nuggets, and I was curious how they respond, firing Michael Malone.
Yeah.
But you're saying you see a different team now than maybe we saw at the end of the year or, when he got fired. What kind of chance do you give them against OKC?
So I'll give them a great chance. Now, but here's the difference. Is OKC, I mean, they're coming off a tough turnaround. You just played Saturday, and now you got to go to an OKC team who's been sitting for, it feels like 2 weeks now. Like they've been sitting out. But that's a tough turnaround, okay? The thing about it is leadership, a voice when things go left. Jokic has stepped up in that manner, and I saw a lot of that in our series. And despite Adelman not having the experience on the bench, you got it on the court with Aaron Gordon. Christian Brown has been there, Jamal Murray, and Jokic, of course. They've been there. They've been in those dogfights. So you lean into that a little bit more. They're going to have to lean into that in the tough OKC team defensively who are going to take a lot away, because the thing about beating Denver is this. Jokic beats you, and he gets 40 points, okay, but he beats you when he's spraying the ball around and you're helping, and Christian Brown is going back door and he's throwing a lob to Aaron Gordon. I think OKC is disciplined enough that they can play one-on-one with Jokic, stay at home with the other players, and just force Jokic to have to beat them one-on-one. And I think that's the key advantage that Denver has. I mean, that the Nuggets have, because they can throw so many bodies at those other guys.
Talking to Jim Jackson, Fox, Turner, NBA college basketball analyst. He was on the call for the Clippers and the Nuggets. If you look at top 5 players in the NBA right now, who would
you say they are?
No, I was going to ask you. I'm the host.
I was trying to put it back on you, Dan. I wanted to see what you were going to say.
I'm the captain now.
Okay, all right.
All right. So who's your top 5?
Top 5, Steph, Jokic. Giannis. SGA, because those two are the MVP. And I think SGA ends up winning it this year.
So you think Steph's a top 5 player?
Yeah, I still think he is.
You would take him over Anthony Edwards?
Not put Anthony Edwards right. I mean, right now,
yeah.
If I'm picking my 5, I'm picking those 5 right there.
Okay. So Joker, SGA, Steph, Giannis.
And Anthony Edwards.
Yep. Okay. Jason Tatum doesn't make it in, huh?
He's right there. I mean, and again, it's not a slight on anybody.
But why is he right there? But he's accomplished more.
I think Jason is like Steph, like all of those guys, I think have something that they do great. Jason doesn't have anything he does great, but he's a great player. He does so many things well. He can shoot it. He can post up. He can defend. He can rebound. Steph has something, you know what I mean, that's different. Jokic has something that's different. SGA has something that's different. And so does Anthony Edwards. But you look at Jason, the totality in which he plays, I love to have him on my team. That would be because he can do a little bit of everything. It's not that he has one quality that stands out amongst above everything else, but he's so good at what he does. I think a lot of people take it for granted. I really do. Because you look at face of the league and things of that nature, Jason Tatum's name never comes up. But if you're talking about actually winning and playing the game, he does it as well as anybody. So that's not a slight to me on Jason Tatum of not being in the top 5.
But Luka's not in your top 5?
No.
What happened?
He never was.
Luka was never a top 5 player?
I'm just fan. No. I think Luka and I give Steph this, and I teeter with that 5th one because you got Steph, you got Luka, you got Jason Tatum. You can flip flop those 3 all day long, and I wouldn't be mad. And I love Luka, but I went back and looked at some film of Luka when he first got in the league, and how slim Luka was, and how quick his first step was, how dedicated he was to getting. Well, he's a dedicated player, but his defensive level has dropped off. And that hurts because he compromises. And I'm not saying, listen, Steve Nash wasn't a great defensive player. Steph is not a great defensive player, but they did give the effort. They did give the effort. Now, you can go through examples of every player and pull out film of them getting beat defensively, okay? Especially when you're Steph or Luka, Steve Nash, guys like that. You can always do that. But the latter two gave the effort a lot more. And a lot of times that's the deterrent with Luka is that if you saw that series in Minnesota, they went after him. They made sure they put him in actions. They did that with Steph. They did it with Steve. But at least they gave that consistent effort to try to play, to try to get over a pick and roll, to try to get back in front of their guy. A lot of time, Luka, I don't know, maybe he's preserving a lot of that energy for the offensive end and not being in tip-top shape. Because if he does that, Dan, it's unbelievable. If he drops 10, 15 pounds and gets back to that and dedicates himself a little bit more, add a little bit more on the defensive end. I mean, it's unbelievable what he can do on the court.
How long before we have a guy making $100 million in a season?
Well, part of the decision with, I think, the Mavericks, Dad, was that $350 million by 5 years they weren't willing to pay, to Luka. We're getting close. Wemby may be that guy because Wemby goes through his rookie deal, signs a extension, and then plays a couple years of that, and then boom, if he's Wemby like we think, I think he'll be that guy that gets $100 million. Because where he's tracking right now, if he gets to that point.
How do you think crowds are going to react when somebody's making $100 million and they're in street clothes?
It will be flat out anarchy. I mean, now, how is he in street clothes? Is he always in street clothes?
Well, load management. Let's just say it's load management, because it used to be you guys took great pride in trying to play every game.
We did. You did. And guys wanted to play. And I'm not saying guys, listen, I'll tell you what, we was talking about James Harden, right? This dude want to hoop. No matter what you want to say about James Harden, he wants to play. A lot of guys in the league want to play. Now, you're talking about the top 1% of the league that we're talking about here that are in street clothes that people are going to be upset about. They're not going to be upset if Rudy Gobert is in street clothes or, if it's Christian Brown. I mean, seriously. But we're talking about the elite of the elite. Now, NBA just signed this big TV deal. You got now Amazon coming on board. You got NBC, maybe Netflix. You got still the ESPNs. So the product is dependent upon the superstars playing. But how do you enforce that? Because to the detriment of the league in some aspects with the analytics and the teams, they dictate more than anything who plays, how and when, and how many games and minutes and sits out. So a coach, a lot of times, and or a player doesn't have full control of that situation. And that's the troubling part of it, because the product is dependent upon the superstars playing at the end of the day. As you know, I don't care what sport it is. And the beauty about football is you got 16, 18 games. Each one matters, right? Those superstars are out there playing. So you got a finite time period to watch them play, and they got to play in order to get to a Super Bowl. They got to be out there. And if they're injured, they can play. If they're hurt, they're not. That's the difference. And it's hurt the product, I think, in a lot of aspects. So I know where you're going with that question. And it would be somebody out there now, a guy like Wemby, I think, like Giannis, who loves to play, I don't think fits in that category because they just want to get out there and play.
I can't imagine Pat Riley saying to Magic, I'm going to have you sit. Or Phil Jackson saying to Michael, hey, I'm going to have you sit. Or, Tommy Heinsohn telling Larry Bird, you're going to have to sit. I can't envision it.
Phil Jackson telling that to Kobe.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? But just what I try to understand.
But it's part of Pop's legacy that Popovich had no problem telling his stars, I'm going to rest you.
But it wasn't. See, at the time it felt bad because it was new. But it wasn't as much as it was strategical when he did it, especially when it got later in the year, getting ready for the playoffs. He knew his position. He knew that, okay, maybe we're not the number one seed, but we're good enough that in that first round series, we get the game on the road, we got home court advantage. That's what he used it for, in my viewpoint, my opinion. But at the time that he did it, it was so new, and he was so honest with why he was doing it, just shocked everybody. But you think about this, Dan. And my son is 32, and I grew up, AAU side and social media with him. You got to meet these young men and women where they're at. What they know is what they know that's in front of them. How I played 82 games in the 90s and rough and physical, they understand it. They saw it, but they don't have a reality of it because their reality is what they see now. So I got to meet them where they're at and talk to them in that basis. My expectations are not limited, but I can't expect them what they're seeing. The problem is it's okay for a lot of guys that when they say you don't have to play, they're fine with it. They're fine with it. And that is a problem. And how do you change that with a generation that has grown up seeing that and knowing that it's okay to miss games? When I was coming in, it wasn't okay. One, because you were worried about, losing that position in that spot. And the perception-wise that I think we took at that time, it was a pride thing to see how close you could get to playing 82 games. That was a badge of honor. But a lot of the participants today don't look at it like that. It's how good I can be in what number of games, and that's it. But that's not all. Anthony Edwards wants to play. I mean, you got to rip him off the court. So, it goes both ways. And it'll be interesting to see with this new crop of young players that are going to lead the league. Shea Alexander, he loves to play. Okay? That they want to be out there on the court. And if it adjusts a little bit more, and I hate the conversation too about why should we have to peel back and shorten the season? I mean, you can't do it anyway because of TV. It's too much money. Those 82 games matter. You take off 10, that's money lost. Millions and millions of dollars lost. That's not going to happen. Why you don't think they get rid of the All-Star game and all of that? It's money. It's tied into your TV contract. Why you think they're adding into, the play-in and, the postseason? Because it's part of TV. So you're not going to shorten the season.
Yeah. Always great to connect with you. Have fun in the off season. Thanks for joining us.